What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another interview edition of Learn Crypto. Today we have Rob. He is the CEO of EOS Detroit. Now, this is kind of going to be a dual interview. We're going to kind of get an overview of EOS, some of the pros and cons he sees with EOS, and then they are actually striving to be a block producer for the EOS blockchain. So we're going to discuss that and what that means as well. How are you doing today, Rob?
I'm feeling fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
Perfect. No problem. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And let's hop right into this. How did you get started in cryptocurrencies, and why have you decided to devote so much time onto EOS?
Good question, Nick. So I got involved about 4 years ago more heavily. I've been talking about it with buddies since 2011, though. We first encountered Bitcoin, thought, wow, this is a cool concept. Followed along with the wax and wane, the bull and bear market cycles as hobbyists. But eventually I realized, oh, this is my calling, because it's the synthesis of what I'd been learning, which is computer science, with some of my passions and activism, and the fact that we can change the world and totally rethink the socioeconomic fabric using open, permissionless, easy to access blockchain networks, these distributed networks. So I'm really interested in the applications that we can build, and the problems we can solve with blockchains. And so anywho, one of my buddies really put me onto BitShares back in 2014, which was Dan Larimer's first project. He invented delegated proof of stake. He made the first stable coin, BitUSD, and BitUSD is still trading to this day. Hasn't broke the peg. So, BitShares is where I really dove in deep. I got involved in the forum, started learning a lot more about economics, Austrian economics, philosophy, cryptography, how blockchains work, how Bitcoin works, the hashing schemes, the Merkle trees, all of it. And followed along there and just got involved and, tried to figure out how to promote it myself. I always was like, oh, this is going to be huge, and I need to figure out how to get a lot of people to realize the value of it and want to participate and invest, because you really get to bet on yourself a lot when you're buying these cryptos, because you can buy it and then you can go out there and change the world and do something to make it more valuable and build your own applications on it. Exactly. So that's what I'm really interested in, is building awesome new software products that use blockchains. So that leads me to EOS, which I believe is the most advanced protocol on the market today. It solved a lot of problems. 4 years of R&D through BitShares and the Steam blockchain, and Dan Larimer slowly building his influence, his capital, his team, his network, and eventually he's got EOS, which just closed a deal with Peter Thiel and Bitmain today.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so
it's got even more funding for Block.1 at least. I guess that leads to my main question is, for a lot of these people, could you give an overview of what EOS is and really why you chose EOS? I mean, you kind of described why you chose it because you think it's the most advanced, but can you give a little more details on that?
Break that down, right? So EOS has a half-second block interval with the latest iteration of the delegated proof of stake consensus mechanism, which is actually totally different from proof of stake. Doesn't suffer from the nothing at stake problem, doesn't suffer from some of the same issues. Same with proof of work. So proof of work and proof of stake, centralized consolidation of the future share supply to the people who have the most capital. Mm-hmm. That's why the mining pools sort of grow more in influence as time goes on, and it cartelizes, basically. Now, when you add in all of these voting structures, which delegated proof of stake does, and says, okay, the token holders have representation. The representation isn't in the mining power anymore. It's in how much tokens you have. And then you get to, pure representation through the protocol. So you get to choose which block producers you want your voting weight to be applied to. So now it turns into a reputation game, and where, there's money on the line income, a whole business model can be run this way. Now we have all these teams vying to build more value for EOS, and using this secured web of all these independent companies as the glue, and so if your company is doing something shady, you can be fired by the token holders when you're exposed, because the whole blockchain is transparent. And, so we've got the accountability because of that transparency in there. So, all you want to do is sign blocks, participate in the aspects of governance that is within the block producing rule, which is actually written into these Ricardian contracts. So EOS introduces the Ricardian contract, which is this concept that Ian Grigg, one of the partners with Block One, invented back in the 90s. That allows you to write intent, so like human readable language, into compilable contracts that are readable by computers as well. So every smart contract on EOS, those smart contracts are written in C++ and compiled to a technology called WebAssembly, which is a new standard that many languages can compile to. But C++ is the current way to develop EOS smart contracts. Anyways, every one of those smart contracts should have a Ricardian contract that explains this is how the functions are supposed to work, and even sets up other conditions like when you register to be a block producer, you agree to keep your service up and running, to provide full nodes, so API access for applications. You agree not to fork the network intentionally or else sacrifice a year's worth of pay. You agree to all of these different stipulations called the reg producer Ricardian contract, because that's the name of the function. And so by using that function, you're signing that you agree to all those terms. So now EOS can introduce a judicial branch, which is this whole arbitration forum concept. So the block producers are the executive, the token holders are the legislative, and we've got the arbitration forums, which the Ricardian contracts specify, which disputes can be referred up to. So with the launch, we've seen some growing pains because we don't have a referendum smart contract. So we can't even figure out, we don't even have the tool we need to ratify the Constitution or amend it yet, or vote on worker proposals or other, how to direct the inflation through a referendum, which has caused the problem because we also don't have ECAF set up, the EOS Core Arbitration Forum, which is supposed to be the first default arbitration forum, which is specified in the interim constitution. So there's like this chicken and an egg problem where we need certain tools that aren't built yet in order to do the full governance. So there's growing pains, basically.
Yeah, so for those naysayers that have, want to push that FUD or those growing pains out there, when do you think that the proper tools will be created? Do you personally think before the
They're all being developed already by all the block producers? So, well, actually not all the block producers, but community members plus some block producer groups create little working groups and work and get stuff done and develop things together, and then you present them to the community. So, they're all being paid and monetized to build that value today. One of the ways we build value is through community outreach. We live stream everything on our YouTube channel that we do. We do regular meetups. So we've done a lot of educational work, and we're building our own internal decentralized application to create incentive structures around sharing internet in neighborhoods, because we want to bring internet access to more Detroiters. We provide all the other services of a block producer, like scaling the network, creating full nodes that have a lot of RAM, because EOS is RAM bound. So one of the reasons why EOS is so fast is because we store the entire state of the blockchain in memory. Mm-hmm. And then we have this really fast thing, but that means that the block producers need to provide tons of memory in the long run. So right now, all of their nodes are providing at least 64 gigabytes on the mainnet. And that's going to start scaling upwards. So every block, 1 kilobyte of more memory or RAM is going to be added. Well, that's what block 1 proposes, at least. The block producers have to update the system contract together through a 15 by 21 multi-sig. So the block producers have superpowers, but only if they coordinate. And because they're all independent and they're like competing against each other, they don't necessarily need to collude and take the same stances. In fact, that would hurt them. So they all have to kind of do what their constituents want, ideally, right? Because that's how elected positions are supposed to work. And the question is, how do you know what your constituents want when they're anonymous token holders? So then you just have to go with your gut and be like, okay, this is the policy I think we should do, or process, or whatever. So, I mean, there's a decent amount of coordination amongst the block producers to, enforce the ECAF's orders. So you can go to the ECAF website, which is the EOS Core Arbitration Forum. You can see all the orders. Those are the orders to freeze the accounts that had known phished funds in them. But this is a slippery slope, right, in cryptocurrency as well. So it's a really interesting experiment to see unfold. But already we've seen Block 1 propose a totally different constitution and scrap the first one and say, we're going to start voting. One of our criteria is that you like the new contract or constitution. Yeah. 10%. So, it's getting really interesting. It's like different levers are being pulled and different, there's all these decentralized politics at play. The Telos fork has emerged, which we're supporting, because parallel networks that are implementing different protocols and different distributions actually give us more data and insight into the software itself. So it'll create more innovation faster if we have forks that are legitimized through, actually testing different experiments. Like Telos is an experiment in voting dynamics and, truncating the whale's supply at 40K. So they're taking the Genesis snapshot and then saying everyone with 40K or more is just get chopped off, truncated there. Wow. Okay, now let's see how the vote works, right? Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't, you shouldn't be mad about that because it's a gift. You're getting those Telos tokens for free if you were in the Genesis. So you don't even have to be concerned about it threatening the mainnet, because it's like the mainnet's little brother that's going to test out some more experimental stuff. Yeah. And provide another RAM pool, which could be cheaper too. So if you're if you don't have enough money to buy the RAM on the mainnet, you might be able to go to Telos and buy the RAM you need to run your decentralized application. So just some interesting, there's all this stuff unfolding. It'll be really good when we have the referendum contract, though, because then we'll start to be able to direct more of the inflation to projects, as well as ratify the Constitution and amend it and take out the parts people don't agree with and like pull the overall token holder base.
So for those that kind of have the argument that EOS is centralized because they have 21 block producers, et cetera, you guys are actually a standby block producer, which I really didn't look a lot into. Can you kind of explain what that means for EOS and the
So actually, we're more of a backup block producer. So last I looked, we were number 79, and the funny thing is we were 66th the other day, but we have more votes now than we have had ever. But we also fell back in the rank because more of the stake got activated and started voting. So we're up to a little over 31% of all EOS is staked in voting. And let's see, EOS Detroit is still at 79 with 10.1 million EOS, which is right around $77 or $78 million worth of EOS. What we need to do is move up to about position 60. So we need to make 19 more jumps in order to start being paid. That's right around where the cutoff is for the standbys. So the top 60 slots are getting paid. So that gives us 21 plus 39 more groups that are all incentivized to contribute, to build value for the protocol, to campaign, to evangelize, build apps and incubate apps, and participate in the block production process. So have infrastructure and nodes. So these guys are all vying to get into the 21. So the 21 should be, on their game, or else someone might come up from behind and take them out. But, you know, Telos is kind of cool because if that has an alternate pool, it means more teams can continue to build value for EOS. They're getting paid in a different currency with a different market.
And what is that? telosfoundation.io, I believe, right? To get information on them.
Yeah.
And it's TELOS, I believe.
TELOS, yeah.
Perfect.
The
So
ultimate purpose of a thing is like what that means in Greek. So it's a pretty cool project. I got to give props to EOS Americas, or Douglas Horn, the guy who kind of put it together and started organizing people, because, you know, it's like, why not? Let's make another test bed. And, you know, things are improved through competition to some extent too. So, you know, there's some level of competition there, sure, because if a DApp's going to go to EOS or Telos, but either way, we can use DApps on both. And, you know, it gives us more options. And it gives, you know, if that's a cheaper RAM pool, then it makes it more accessible to people with less money too, to develop and run their own apps. So
that's another kind of question, inquiry. So if the RAM just keeps scaling, gets exponentially more expensive, does that hurt the EOS ecosystem for the future, because there will be less utilization of their network since the RAM might get too costly? That maybe some DApps that are decent but don't generate that much revenue can't really.
The block producers need to figure out how to scale it higher, or else some block producers will come along and compete that can scale it past those limits. So if we reach some limits, then there will now be a new market opportunity where it's like, well, if you figure out how to surpass the limit, you get to be the block producers for EOS, this, you know, $1 trillion at that point sort of phenomena. So, you know, that the market itself will figure that problem out just because of how much money is at stake. But, you know, and computer hardware continues to be evolved. So I'm sure we'll figure out new schemes to make RAM more dense. But what we can do is we can scale horizontally too. So I know Block One's working on pruning to like further compress the size of the blockchain. There's some alternate proposals to figure out how, you know, how can we better utilize the RAM pool? Can we view it as not as property, because that's what it's viewed as now. It's a speculative market that's using Bancor. So EOS RAM actually uses a Bancor liquidity market, and you can buy and sell RAM through the protocol. So it's an on-chain liquidity market. You know, and we've seen the speculation and we've heard about it and the FUD and whatever.
Yeah.
Like those are just, you know, these forces at play. But as the block producers add more RAM, the price will also be dampened. So if we start trickling out RAM at a set rate every block, then, you know, it's going to have a constant downward force on the price. So let's throw that in and see what happens. And we'll continue to iterate and find new solutions to the problem. But for now, I mean, the Steam blockchain, I think that's around 50 gigs now, maybe, after a couple of years. So, you know, EOS will probably grow faster than Steam because it's got a lot more weight behind it. But also, I mean, you know, we can have multiple terabytes of RAM easily today. So, you know, it's expensive. You know, expect to pay like at least 70 grand. But, you know, we can do that and that'll get us pretty far. And then inter-blockchain communication gives us the infinite scalability because we can create parallel chains with parallel RAM pools that we can offload transactions to, and then all the chains can intercommunicate between each other to find the right parent chain for the transaction. So that's on the EOS roadmap as well, finishing up the inter-blockchain communication. So you can scale one token with many, you know, infinite chains horizontally, but you could also create two-way pegs between two different chains. So we could even glue EOS and Telos together at some point in the future. So it's really interesting, like the EOS IO ecosystem has a fractal nature. It's sort of, you know, it can morph off into all these different groups. They can implement their own constitutions and protocol tweaks and distributions. It's just a reference implementation of blockchain software, and people can take it and do what they want with it. They can make it private, they can make it public, but, EOS is, very dynamic, and it's the first governed blockchain, with all these explicit governance mechanisms. So it's a really interesting thing. And, because of that governance, it actually lowers the black swan risk for institutional capital, because there's recourse. They can sign contracts and do what they're used to doing, have things be made right if things go wrong, and they don't have to worry about the 30 million parity hack or the $300 million exchange hack or whatever else. They don't, if that stuff happens, we can say, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen according to the Ricardian contracts, put in a case, put the money back in its rightful place, and away we go. And the cool thing is, the record of all of that will be stored on chain as well. So the whole case process will be on chain. And so even if cases change the history or the state of the network, we can always see how they did. We can always unwind the cases and see what it used to be. So it's all of the data is still there. It's not like we're changing the history. It's all there in some form. We're just it's using intent as law. The intent of the code is law. So what did the developer mean? Because bugs are going to happen. Then should someone lose $30 million because of a simple mistake in software development? Or, can we still put the right mechanisms in place where we're protecting property rights, but we're also able to have more nuance?
Yeah,
And
I kind of see that governance structure is almost falling in between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, where Ethereum Classic code is king, but they don't want to change anything. Ethereum kind of is Vitalik, just nope, we're taking it back, we're fixing it. But you guys are actually still utilizing the blockchain and the code is king, but kind of making sure the contracts are done properly as they were intended to do, because there are going to be bugs in code, etc. So you're protecting people while still trying to be immutable in a sense, so kind of fall in between.
That's a great way to think of it. And, essentially what we've done is taken the tools that they would have needed to solve their dispute, codified it into the protocol itself. And so it's just there, and you can use those tools rather than having to totally fork. Now, forks don't have to be bad, but some of them are dramatic, and some of them have, it's got this negative connotation about it. But I think if you fork for the right reasons, and you're performing an experiment, then you use the mainnet as a control, and you can have experiments just like the scientific method. So we can have different dynamics at play in each system and learn more. And because of the airdrop theory of EOS, where you get tokens given to you rather than having to buy them, you don't lose anything. You got the TLOS and the EOS. You don't have to choose one or the other. It's win-win. You get both, and you get to play in both parallel universes. And with their, the parallel universes, and they each have their own laws of physics, basically. So it's it's not necessarily always a negative thing to fork. It just has to be for the right reasons, I think.
That kind of leads me right to my next question, because you kind of talked about the airdrop, dynamic that EOS is really producing. I know that one of the original snapshots that a lot of the Binance airdrops have been using is from June 2nd. Obviously, we've seen downward pressure on the price since then. I even talked about on the show that I was going to sell some of my EOS at that point because of it. A community question was, is there going to be a fresh snapshot for airdrops to come? What's the best way to capitalize on airdrops? Do we need to use a certain wallet for EOS? Can we rely on Binance to keep producing all these airdrops, etc.? What's your opinion?
Do is take control of your own EOS. If you're a power user, use Kleos, which comes in the EOS code base on GitHub. That's just a command line EOS tool. If you're not a power user, or you just want ease of use, I like EOS Voter by Graymass. You can also get that on GitHub. It's really good. It's totally open source. It's made by highly respected community individuals. And it's a good wallet. So you can vote, you can proxy your vote to another account to vote on your behalf. You can view all your airdrops. You can transfer. You can do all the things you need to do with your stake. You can unstake, all of that through their wallet. So that's a really good wallet. Another one that I've heard of, but I haven't used, but it's from another well-respected team, is Simple EOS. So I haven't used that one. And then if you like browser extensions like MetaMask, check out Scatter. Scatter is working on a desktop wallet as well. It's a really good, it's a good utility. And the interesting thing about Scatter is it supports Ethereum too. So it's multi-chain. So, the Telos group is talking to the developer of Scatter about having Telos integrated. So it can support multiple blockchains, but they're building an identity standard to allow your identity to flow between them all, basically. So same identity between all of the chains.
That'd be interesting.
Pretty cool. And actually, back to the Wizards thing, there's like this Wizards.1 airdrop thing, and that's starting up tomorrow. And you can get a wizard, which is like a crypto kitty. It's a non-fungible token, collectible. So they're giving those away starting tomorrow, and you need Scatter to claim it. So that's a good reason to have Scatter. Some sites integrate directly with Scatter, just like some sites integrate directly with MetaMask, and then you can interact with your wallet through Scatter. And the keys never leave the extension. That plus Google Chrome is good. And as far as your original question of different snapshots, so this is something interesting. Essentially, it's up to people to decide who are gonna launch projects that utilize tokens. So it's up to these different apps to decide to implement different snapshots. No one is forcing them to use the ERC20 June 2nd snapshot. That's just the most agreed upon snapshot. It's the one used to launch the mainnet. It's all packed up and ready to go. It's an easy option. I think that's why a lot of people are still using it, because we're only a month out. Mm-hmm. I'd imagine, though, especially as we see the supply ownership change, that some new airdrops that are looking to market are going to actually get people hyped up about new snapshot dates, because that's good for their marketing campaign. So I've been thinking about this too. Like, is someone going to do a new snapshot, pick a new date soon and do it from the EOS mainnet, just to like hype people up about their projects? So, I mean, I'm sure we'll see it eventually. It's a matter of when.
So it's really, really a great marketing play too, first of all, because then they'd be like, hey, in 3 weeks from now is our EOS snapshot. It's going to benefit them because the EOS price is going to go up, which they're developing on. And then people are going to be continually talking about their new DApp because it's going to be in the news for 3 weeks, and people are going to be tracking the price action at EOS, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. They'll be trying to get the EOS tokens to get more of the snapshot and things like that. So I'm really surprised with the snapshot markets. I mean, IQ opened up the Everipedia token, and it's like a $500 million market cap.
Yeah.
Just like, wow. The snapshot model is really great. It eliminates the moral hazard of the ICO, of asking for money to use for development. It starts to look like a security. You just give it away. The team retains some. You get some highly liquid exchanges to list, and you bootstrap a market. And what's wrong with that? Let the free market decide the price. Some of the snapshots won't be worth anything, and some of them will be worth a lot because of the mechanics around the token. So we'll just have to see how the smart contracts around, like, I'm excited to see Everipedia fully hatch. That's going to be fun. Like, you'll be able to earn IQ tokens for contributing to knowledge base, a wiki. And you can write a Wikipedia article about yourself, or an Everipedia article about yourself, rather, and earn tokens for it. So now, just like Steam, people are incentivized to write. They're earning some of the tokens. And, a bunch of these EOS decentralized apps are going to end up like that, where I'm an active participant. I'm contributing value to the system. It's giving me value back. expressing myself or being creative, and I'm earning money for that. My lifestyle's better because I have, access to capital, so I'm not struggling and stressed all the time. So, I think the future's bright if we can take all of this awesome technology that's about to hatch and figure out how to bring it to people and make it easy for them to use. And that's what EOS Detroit's trying to do.
That's
So
really
we want
cool.
to take some of the inflation from the EOS block producer pool, bootstrap our team and our operations and scale our talent and hire locally and, get our office set. And we've got all these plans outlined. And, we're also looking into angel investors as well and talking to a few people already. So we're sort of like, it's going to take some resources to get going, and, I've been putting my own resources into it because I fucking believe in it, man. It's fun. I'm living my most pure life because I'm doing what I like to do, and I'm trying to, make a company go and create the startup company, and also chasing my passion of like teaching people how to empower themselves with this new internet technology. So it's really exciting, when you look past the speculation and the markets. Like I used to watch the markets a lot, and now I just like put it all in cold storage, let those airdrops pile up, and just figure out like boots on the ground. What can I do today to make this more understandable for people? So
for somebody who's not, if you're talking to somebody who's not invested in EOS or doesn't have any EOS tokens, what is the best course of action for them if after hearing this they want to get involved? Do they buy EOS and then you just store it on one of these wallets and you automatically get all these airdrops for the future, possibly, if they do new snapshots? Or
if you want to be exposed to the price of EOS, then of course buy in. I don't know if that's the best course of action for everyone, so I don't recommend that to people, because there's other ways to participate. But if you want to participate in the EOS core governance process of electing block producers, you'll need tokens, and you'll need to put them in one of these wallets, and you'll need to stake the tokens, which you can unlock over 3 days. But once you've got them staked, you get a claim on the network's bandwidth and the network's computing resources. So that's how you can send transactions for free in EOS, because you've staked. But you also get that voting power. So if you want to participate in that, and which I think is the fun part, is being part of it, then yeah, you should probably go figure out where to get some. But you don't have to, and that's the beauty of it. With these new systems like Everipedia and IQ, you can go sign, as long as you can get your EOS account initially, which will cost something, but Block One's going to give away tons of wallets. They already announced this. So like there's definitely going to be people bootstrapping the network by giving away accounts. So assume you can get a free account. Now you can go over to these different dApps, start using them, and just earning those tokens back, which you could then convert back into the core token if you wanted EOS. So the point I'm trying to make is that in the future, people will be able to just use the dApps and earn the tokens. They won't even have to speculate and invest like the market's been doing all along. Those of us that are speculating and investing, if that's the future, our future's bright. Because, as long as we're not buying the worst, without any fundamental kind of projects, if you're buying into these core protocols and you're on for the ride and you're hedging properly and all that, then you probably will have success. I don't know for sure, but I sure believe in it.
That's why I spend a lot of my days and hours doing live shows, interviews, etc., try to get that information out to as many people so everybody else can participate in, what we kind of call the financial revolution here with cryptos and blockchain, etc.
Yeah. It's especially if you have a little disposable income you're trying to invest, it's a great asset class. If you want to be exposed to these rides, it's highly volatile. That's what you're looking for. Go for it. I personally have 95% of my portfolio in EOS.
There you go. I wouldn't say it's most diversified, but you're working with it every day, and that shows that you really believe in it. So
yeah, and I was looking the other day. I was crunching the numbers, and when I looked, let's see. This is everyone talking about the depressed price. of EOS. What happened, I think, was that the value went into the airdrops. All these airdrops happened and the value kind of pulled out of there and into the airdrops. Because I look at IQ, so my IQ airdrop is now 3.81% of my portfolio, right? So I was just given a few points more, right?
Mm-hmm.
For free. And that's just one airdrop. Like I've got like 10 other ones sitting in my account that I don't know what projects they're for or whatever. And maybe half of them are anything worthwhile. Like IQ was the first EOS VC invested project. So it had a lot of hype. It's got a huge market cap, but still, I mean, that's really amazing to me that, you know, with this new model, like I don't have to worry about investing in the ICO. I've got the core token. It takes care of me. It's like more, Brendan Bloomer, the CEO of Block One, actually just had a phenomenal tweet. And, you know, I don't think he tweets a ton, but right here, EOS transactions are completely paid for by 1% inflation opposed to greater than 7% on ETH or greater than 2% on BTC, except EOS does not charge transaction fees on top of inflation. EOS runs for token holders opposed to being a double charging fee machine for mining dictators. So obviously that's a little charged, but it's like, right, we're rather than taking, like the energy dynamics of proof of work in and of itself just suck because we're bleeding out efficiency to the power companies rather than taking those monies and reinvesting them right back into the DAO or the DAC, right? The decentralized autonomous community. So why not direct those monies back inwards to your community and use it as a bootstrapping mechanism, a self-funding, unstoppable network, as opposed to bleeding it out, you know, to mining dictators, in Brandon's words, who don't have the interest of the user at mind because the user has no representation. You can't vote with your Bitcoins. You can't vote with your Ethereum. You vote with your hash power. So that vote, you know, just by changing the voting scheme from hash power to stake, we've changed everything. Because now you can be an active participant in the governance of the thing. So it's interesting, you know, and there's pros and cons too. Like proof of work is a great distribution mechanism, objective distribution mechanism. It works good for a while and it centralizes over time. It costs a lot. It's really cool. Like obviously we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't
for proof of work to start with. Yeah.
Right. Leveling up. Okay. If we want to build applications that have millions and millions and millions of users, we need to think outside of the box. And I believe Dan's been doing that all along. He's the dude that Satoshi said to, if you don't understand, I don't have time to explain to you. I'm sorry. He said that to Dan because Dan was there like questioning Satoshi's designs. Then Dan just went off and designed his own blockchain architecture from scratch using C++. Master software architect, craftsman. And, you know, some people will question like the coding style or whatever, but like, you know, it's one of the most active projects on GitHub, or it was in May, pre-launch at least. So like top 10 most active. Very active development. You know, the Block One company has scaled past 200 employees already. They're just blowing up. They're using that capital that they've raised through the token distribution to reinvest back into the ecosystem through EOS VC, which is that $1 billion fund, and scaling their own talent and team so they can build apps on EOS. So the best is yet to come. Like Dan's already said, BitShares 2.0, Steam 2.0, all of these apps that have been in his head, universal basic income, they're building all that, just them, not even the community of like 50 other apps. So it's
and the best way to
product launch in history, man. We're like EOS, don't, you know, do your own research on this. I'm just saying, like not trying to shill too hard. Obviously I've got vested interest, but it's got good fundamentals. It really does. So,
and the best way to produce and what you think is a flourishing ecosystem would be to own EOS tokens and like we said, have them on that wallet. When you say staking, is that in traditional metrics of staking where their wallet needs to be open, or can they just have the coins in that wallet and not have to have their computer running 24/7? Or
Right.
what are
The
the
computer
dynamics with
doesn't
that?
have to run. It's not running a node like your traditional proof of stake node. It's just it's basically moving your tokens into an illiquid state. So you're locking them up. And that time delay is really cool because it has the additional benefit of being a security feature. So I have EOS Authority's Telegram bot set up to monitor my EOS account. Whenever I get an airdrop, whenever I transfer to an exchange or anything, I get a Telegram notification. Also, when, any transaction. So unstaking itself is a transaction. I see those transactions. So if someone gets my account and starts unstaking, I can use my owner key, which is so EOS has owner and active keys. Your owner key is your cold storage, and your active is your hot wallet. Use your active key. If that gets owned, you can use your owner key to change your active key to lock the hacker out. So because of the time delay, I have 3 days to do that, right? Because I've locked up voting. If someone tries to take it, they have to wait 3 days to get it unlocked. I see right away. I change my keys. Time delay saves the day. So, that's time delay is a really important security feature. And it's, that's just another example. So, you don't have to have your wallet open. You can just set, a transaction and you're there. You're good. And yeah, another cool thing that Dan mentioned, because he's building a new stable coin on EOS, which he's also talked about, which will probably be a part of the BitShares 2.0 thing, or like whatever decentralized exchange they're working on. But if you participate in creating liquidity for that, using EOS to collateralize those stable assets, you can earn passive income. So redistribution back to those stakers. So that's what people always want, right? I want to stake to earn money back. Well, I'm pretty sure Dan's setting up some mechanism to allow people to do that, but they also provide liquidity to the stablecoin market and earn some money back, or something like that. We'll have to see. But it's like that, you've got that option, and then there's a leasing market coming out. So people who want to just borrow the utility of EOS tokens will be able to use Chintai, which is a leasing decentralized app. And you'll be able to lease your tokens and make passive money back just for borrowing the utility of it. And so you'll get your tokens back, so you keep your principal and you're just borrowing, you're renting them out basically, and then you can make a passive income too. So there's reasons to, be excited as far as passive investment in EOS goes, because you'll be able to make your tokens work for you in some form or another, whether you're an app developer who wants to use them to buy RAM, or you want to do the leasing or the bond thing or lending or whatever. There's all of that's coming. And, it's been a long road. It's about time that this market goes mainstream. So it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, EOS is definitely very interesting. There's a ton of nuances and complexities that you're talking about. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have to do more research on, but it's nice that we touched base on those. It's nice to see why you are dedicating so much of your time to EOS, what EOS has down the pipeline, and really the main value proposition that I've been discussing with EOS when I'm telling people, hey, we're having some market hiccups here and there, but one reason that you may want to look into owning EOS or adding to your portfolio is that airdrop ecosystem that you're talking about. It's kind of a new passive income metric that hasn't really been discovered before that they're kind of implementing here. We're already seeing a payoff for people who held it on Binance on 6.2 and or these wallets as well. I mean, I've already received 4, 5, 6 airdrops, which is pretty crazy. Like you said, some might go to zero, may do nothing, but some will have value, and that kind of can offset any losses on the actual EOS proprietary token itself. So.
Yeah, very true. So it's interesting. I personally think that airdrop theory, that's something that Dan has had in his mind since BitShares, actually. So with BitShares, the initial distribution was 50% to ProtoShares holders. And ProtoShares was a Bitcoin fork you could mine. So people mined that. got airdropped 50% of the BitShares supply to that, and then 50% of the BitShares supply went to Angel Shares, which was a donation ledger where you could donate to their development fund for Dan's original company, Invictus. So you could donate Bitcoin and buy Angel Shares, basically. And that was, you know, he airdropped to bootstrap the initial supply there, and it's all been, you know, it's been a while. Like, at first, BitShares was designed, he was trying to make it an airdrop target, and it didn't work. You know, it's too early. EOS has kind of realized that goal of creating an airdrop target. And part of the reason why it's done a good job is because of the game theory of the sale. So doing that year-long token sale actually made it really hard to consolidate the supply, creating interesting voting dynamics. So we still have whales, but there's a lot of whales. It's not just a few whales, you know, and that is important for a delegated proof of stake system that depends on voting. But that's also why we're launching TLOS, because we want to see what happens if you, you know, totally get rid of the whales from the start, and then what, right? Yeah. So that'll be an interesting experiment too. And yeah, so there's a lot in the pipeline here, you know, check it out. Just use the apps. I mean, these apps are coming. I imagine we'll see a pretty decent amount of movement over the next 2 to 3 months. Like Ono is a big social media D app, huge in China. They're about to launch their international version like any day now. They were supposed to launch it last night. And so I think they're launching their own totally separate EOS chain because they expect so much volume from their app. Wow. So you'll still get that token as a Genesis holder. It's just going to be its own core token or something. I don't know their plan for sure, but what I'm saying is, you know, some of these apps anticipate that much volume, like hundreds of thousands of users right out of the gate. And, you know, they're just like, oh, we're going to need our own chain for now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's, you know, just use those apps and play around. You don't have to buy in yet if you're still skeptical, right? I would say, you know, get comfortable and just use it and see, like, wow, it's really amazing what you can do with no transaction fees and half a second block times. Like, this feels like using a normal web application. It's not as kludgy and slow as the blockchains we know and love. And, you know, it also isn't as immutable, obviously, because there's this governance process. So there's other considerations. So it'll be a really interesting experiment to continue to follow and work on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to come on here. I'm glad we got to talk about EOS, talk about EOS Detroit, obviously in the background. Maybe we'll have to do this again as things progress. I also appreciate you kind of giving your ideas for some wallets and talking through kind of how to utilize the airdrop effect that they're trying to do, because I think that's really the big winner here for being an EOS holder or supporter, is trying to capitalize on some of these airdrops and hope some of them that you enjoy using blow up in value, blow up in utilization, because network utilization really drives price appreciation. So,
oh yeah,
like you said,
when the crypto economics are all aligned properly, and the more active it is, the more scarce the token becomes or something like that. Now you've got a recipe, you know, for success as far as investments go too. So yeah, be an early adopter here. Like, there's a lot of value to be made participating instead of just passively buying in. Like, you know, roll up your sleeves and check it out, guys. Like, there's going to be a lot, you know, you could write your own worker proposal. If you're like, I have an idea of something cool to build for EOS, we'll go write a proposal. Like, the worker proposal system's under development. There's a Telegram channel with everyone talking about it that's working on it. And it's like, this is going to be here soon. And that's going to unlock so much more labor for the ecosystem too. So that positive feedback effect of the EOS inflation, you know, inflationary and deflationary pressures sort of balancing each other out, finding equilibrium and creating this really interesting shared global distributed computing resource that allows us to create irreversible public records. It's, you know, It's going to be crazy. There's a reason why Peter Thiel bought in. You know,
Yeah.
he's not dumb. Read his 0 to 1 book. It's a fucking great book. Like that book changed my life as an entrepreneur. Like I don't like Palantir. I'm not a big fan of PayPal, but you got to give some respect to Thiel for being a good entrepreneur in the whole. Like he made it, right? And that book has some sage wisdom. So check that one out too.
Awesome.
All right,
Thanks.
man.
Thanks for having you. And until next time, guys, obviously throw some comments in the comment section below. Maybe Rob will be over there to answer some questions, shoot you over to EOS Detroit as well. I'll try to have all their...
We've got, if you have EOS and you want to vote for us, we're EOS Detroit. That's our producer name. And we also have a Telegram channel. So if you want to come hang out and talk to us, EOS_Detroit is our Telegram channel. And of course, we're on Twitter. I follow you, Nick, and Learn Crypto. So hit us up on any of these platforms and we'll hit you back.
And I'll make sure to put all those in the description below, guys, so you guys can check that out. And I'm sure if you guys have any question about EOS or some of the wallets or something like that, Rob would definitely want to probably help you out. Maybe if you want to contribute to EOS Detroit over there. And until next time, guys, stay tuned for your daily updates on cryptocurrencies right here at Learn Crypto.